Here's Brody Brazil.
Well, this one's kind of crazy, but I also feel like it does deserve some specific consideration because it feels like Mason Miller just arrived. And actually, he made his Major League debut last season, but this year, as the closer, it's kind of official who he is in Major League Baseball and what he has established himself in. The question now is, would the A's already consider trading number 19? Would it not be Miller time in Oakland anymore? And so there's two sides to this, and there's a lot to actually think about and unpack. For some people, the answer is a simple and quick no. For others, they're willing to think about it deeper, and we'll do that here in this video. There are some things to consider. You take a look at Mason's 2024 stats, and it's a small sample size. That's the other part about this. He's been so electric, so dynamic, so near perfect, but only 16 1/3 innings pitched, 33 strikeouts in that span. And I'll say it two ways. Number one, that shows the dominance of how hitters basically can't even keep up with him. They can't even touch him. At the same respect, if you want to survive over the long term, maybe you don't want to be throwing that many pitches at this high exertion of sometimes 103.3 miles an hour. That's the fastest one I've seen clocked so far this season. And then he matches it up with the 87-mile-an-hour slider, which has a lot of tilt to it, a lot of east-west on it, but 33 strikeouts in 16 1/3 innings pitched. It's almost like every one of his 3-out save appearances and performances, he's almost guaranteed to get 2 strikeouts of the 3 total outs that he's about to get. 7 hits, 4 walks, that's all he's allowed this year in 16 1/3, and he's got that 55% K rate. So in the same way that you'd like to see a starter be more efficient with pitches, I'm only saying this from a Miller perspective in that you want to see him be able to close out games day after day and not have too many days where he's not available or eligible to pitch. And so strikeouts are obviously more taxing on the body. It'd be great to see him have a 9-pitch 9th inning. But if you're striking out 2 batters, it's obviously going to require a lot more pitches than all of that. A 1.10 earned run average, I mean, it's sparkling right now, a 125 opponent's average. His fastball averages 100.8 miles an hour. And from what I understand, that's the fastest fastball by any closer in baseball. And again, that's just the average. I've seen it get up to 103.3. You mix that in with the 87. It's that velocity differential of 103 on some pitches, and then all of a sudden he hits you with 87. That is impossible with that much velocity on the top end and that much differential between his 2 main pitches. And he's 8 for 8 in save opportunities this year. To be fair, at the beginning of the year, they were kind of giving him a softer landing. They didn't want him to pitch on back-to-back days, but we've also now seen him have 4 and 5, and I think was there a 6-out save even in there at some point? So they're stretching him out, they're using him a little bit more, and all of this is coming off of last season where he was a starter, right? And he couldn't stay healthy. It was about this time last year. He had some tightness in his forearm. The A's had to shut him down for most of the season. They did have him return at the end, but we knew last year how electric he was as a starter. And then it was winter meetings when David Forst, the GM, officially declared, hey, we are going to make him a bullpen pitcher this year. We're going to have him come out of the bullpen to try and keep him healthy for a full season. And I instantly knew, hey, this is closer material right here. Sure enough, we were, days into the season, and he's the A's closer. You look at his percentile rankings here via Baseball Savant. Oh my goodness. 93rd percentile, 95th percentile, 100th percentile, 94, 98, 96, 99. I mean, look at all these main categories. Look how red that is in a very good way. Being in those 90-something-ish percentiles, if not being in the 100th percentile in all of the important categories. So he's dynamic. He's dominant. He's taken over this role, and oh yeah, here's the most important part as we talk about trade consideration. He's under contract for quite some time with the Oakland A's. His career and the way baseball is structured is just getting started. 2021, he was a 3rd-round draft pick, if you can believe that, 97th overall. And this is how the A's do it. They find these diamonds in the rough, so to speak. They know how to evaluate talent. There's a lot of criticisms out there about the Oakland A's. And for large reason, you understand why some of them exist. But one of them holds true, and it's the ultimate compliment to their baseball operations. They know how to identify talent and more often than not hit on having that talent be productive in the major leagues. 2024, this season, he's earning a major league minimum of $740,000. That's also important because any team that would be taking him on in a trade not only keeps that contract, but he's still under that contract until 2026 when he would become arbitration eligible, meaning that a team could offer him a different contract or he could seek arbitration if they really wanted to take it that far. But ARB eligible in 2026, he's still under team control through 2029. So this is 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 6 years, basically 5 after this one. So there is a lot of upside here in terms of what you've seen and how much time he still has and control a team still has, whatever team has him, in the remaining years of his career until that situation where he's a free agent. So here's some reasons why the A's would not want to consider trading Mason Miller. I'll do this 2 ways. I'll see both sides of it, and then I'll give you some gut instincts. Number one, yeah, there is plenty more time and control on that contract. Why on earth? Even the A's. And they've done it with a year or 2 remaining on team control, or once a player gets close to arbitration, or maybe a year after arbitration eligibility. But to have this many more years and ship him off, and yeah, you want to get something in return, and we'll talk more about that in a second, but why would you do this when you just basically uncovered this? Also a reason why they wouldn't want to trade him, if they are actually trying to build a team, if they are actually trying to be competitive. How many other clubs around the league would die to have a closer like this? And whether you're a competitive team right now or not, when you come across a commodity like this, you don't sell it and ship it and offer it around. You keep it. These are hard to come by. This is an important position. This is an important role. If you want to be a winning team and you want to have a difference of maybe even plus or minus 5 wins a season based on Mason Miller in the 9th inning alone. Think about that for a second. So if you're actually trying to build momentum with a team, I think you very much consider hanging on to Mason Miller despite where you're at right now, or despite where you'll be in 1 year, 2 years as a team. I mean, like as a team, not physically of a location. I also think that it's possible why they wouldn't do it now, but why they might do it later in terms of a trade. They could still do it this season, but wouldn't you get so much more in return closer to the deadline? If you do this deal right now, what's the urgency? What's the time crunch? What's that external factor that's going to have the team you trade with give you a lot more back in return? That's why, in my opinion, you would want to wait until the deadline to maximize this deal if you're the A's. And maybe the last thing is, maybe they have yet to really showcase his workload. Like I said, 8 save performances so far. He's pitched in more games than that, but they haven't used him, 3 days straight, hypothetically, or they haven't used him in 3 games in a 4 or 5 day span. They haven't really expanded his workload. They haven't been able to showcase that because they're trying to make sure they keep him healthy, right? He was not healthy last year, had to sit out most of last year as a starter. This is a new role, and while it's a lot fewer pitches, it's a lot more exertion. I remember him last year touching 100 pretty easy, but not touching 102 and 103 on almost every pitch. So they've obviously told him, hey, go all out for your 1 inning, get the save, do your thing. And he's done it, and he's done it well. I just don't know that he's showcased it, the workload in length and over a quantity of time yet that maybe other teams would want to see. So those are some reasons why I think the A's would not do it. Here are some reasons why, and by the way, we should establish, I've kind of not talked about this, all of this coming on the reporting of Ken Rosenthal, who says other teams have already been reaching out to the A's just to talk about Mason Miller, and the ask by Oakland is a pretty steep return, as expected. So here are some reasons why the A's might entertain that. Number one, they've taken Miller from a starter to a closer, and he's showcased, he's already, that series against the Yankees, he had 2 saves, and he got the heart of the order both times, Soto and Judge. I mean, when will Mason Miller's value be much higher? I mean, technically, yeah, if he racks off a 40-save season this year, his value would be even higher. But my saying is exponentially higher. Do people already know and realize and recognize what he's done and what he has and what he's able to do, what he might be capable of 1, 3, and 5 years down the road? Yes. I think people realize that. I don't know that his value is going to double from now. Could it get higher than now? Sure. Could it multiply by that many times? Probably not. He'd have to be very good for very many years. I also think, as I mentioned before, if the A's are trying to be a good team now, that's one thing, but maybe they're trying to be a good team in 4 years down the road again. And they're going to cycle through things again. Didn't we just go through this at the end of 2021 into 2022? I mean, maybe they're trying to get a haul in return and another equal prospect from another organization and some other players to go along with it. So maybe that's what they're trying to do. They've been prone to doing this before. And while it doesn't make sense in the moment, obviously down the road, there could be some things to gain from it. And again, when will Mason's value be higher? When could the A's get much more in return than right now? And oh yeah, I hate to bring this up even like this, knock on wood and everything else. Because of the injury concerns and because the A's are setting out on this track with Miller as a closer and they're going to try and keep him healthy for this season, maybe there are some concerns that the UCL sprain or whatever, even if it's a minor thing that they would have to set him back on, maybe they're concerned that something like that could crop up again. And now is the time to cash in on the value that he's provided and to showcase what he can do. So again, I don't want to spend too much time on that because I don't want to talk any of that into existence, but you have to understand that's out there. So here's what my instincts say, beginning with this. It's so unfortunate that we're even here talking about Mason Miller being traded away from the A's. He just arrived in this role. He has spent, 5-6 total weeks as the closer, 8 saves, and this is already on the table. This is already out there floating around in the media, and there's no real answer. Like, it would be much easier if the A's came out and said, we are not trading Mason Miller. But they won't do that. And really, they can't do that. What if somebody offered you the world tomorrow after you said that? I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Keep your eyes peeled on that, but I don't think the A's are going to go out and declare that Miller is untradeable, unmovable at any time. It's rare that any team really does that. But it would be nice for him to understand, okay, you're going to be here for a while. Settle in, get comfortable, just do your thing. That's unfortunate from a personal side, but it's also a compliment. I do understand that. Let's also realize that we're talking about a trade here in May of 2024. It kind of feels inevitable that Mason Miller someday, whether it's this year, whether it's 25 or 26, Mason Miller will be traded away by the Oakland A's. It feels inevitable. Will he be offered a 5-year contract before arbitration? Or how about when arbitration eligibility kicks in? Here you go, Mason, 5 years, $72 million. I don't know. I'm just picking out a dollar amount. Do you think that'll happen? I don't think that'll happen, and I think history has proven that will not happen. And I also don't know, as my last instinct here, I mean, what he has. So long as he can stay healthy, I don't know if hitters are ever going to figure him out. Throwing 103. Like, they can time up a lot of things, but when he's got 103 and that slider as another put-away pitch, he's got something that can last and be sustainable so long as he is sustainable. This is a commodity like you don't see very often. So as long as he can do this, that's another thing. How long can he sustain that velocity and that pitch combination? I don't know if anybody's ever going to figure him out as he is right now from the hitting side of things. So would the A's actually do this? Like I said, it's crazy we're having this conversation and consideration, but it runs way deeper than just surface level. I actually wanted you to think about some of this stuff, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. By the way, you also just made it here all the way to the end of this video. I really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me in this video and this channel, and you know I'd love to see you back here next time, so go down there right now before this ends, hit that subscribe button, and we'll do it all over again sometime soon.